Hello, Sarah and Lee here from How to Travel.
Hello.
Hello. We have been on a road trip in Norway in March time. So we were in the last 2 weeks of March, and we thought we'd give our experience of having an electric car. The pros and cons of having an electric car in Norway, or generally probably other road trips in other countries it might apply to. So we picked up our electric car from Oslo Airport. We used budget rent-a-car. So that whole process was really easy. Bearing in mind, as we said, we are in March, so it is a bit quieter, so there's not as many tourists around. But we have been to Norway before, and the experience then of picking up a car was quite straightforward. So quite easily signposted in Oslo Airport. You just make your way down to the hire car area, and they were very good, very helpful.
No upselling.
No upselling. One tip we do have is we get our own insurance before we head out. So yeah, you explain the insurance.
Yeah, just the standard excess insurance, the damage waiver type stuff. It's only about 45 quid, but you know, you can use that. I think it's a yearly one we got, so it's pretty cheap, and it's a damn sight cheaper than what they charge per day here. So, and it'll be we can use that on our next road trip, which would be good. So hopefully we'll start planning that soon. So that's a really good thing to have.
Yeah, it just takes away the hassle you sometimes get when you go to rent car places.
Lost keys.
Yeah, all of that. It's just all done and sorted. So yeah, we have all that in place, and so one of our first things that we thought when we got to the desk was, do we definitely want an electric car? We had done some research before we came on this road trip.
There wasn't a lot on it though,
There wasn't a lot, no. And we had read that, I mean, Norway is one of the best countries ever for having the infrastructure for electric car charging. So, and they've apparently got even better in the last 8 months. So we thought, we were umming and ahhing, and we were like, what do we do? So we did ask about switching to a petrol car, and they did have a couple of options for us, but in terms of comfort,
not that big.
Yeah, the comfort of a car, the electric car they had for us was much better. So we thought, oh, we'll just go for it, we'll give it a chance. And so we took the electric car. That was all quite straightforward. The guy in budget, he came out, he helped us, showed us everything we needed to know about the car. They did have some guidance as well about QR code, yeah, and downloading apps for the electric car charging. So we felt pretty prepared, like when we headed off. We were like, okay, we've got this. And one other thing before we came to Norway is Lee downloaded a couple of the apps, as did I. So the main ones we downloaded was Tesla.
Yeah. So don't be put off by Tesla, thinking that you need a Tesla at home, for example, or owning one. You can download an account. You can do an account, download the app, and associate your credit card to it. But make sure you use something like the Halifax Clarity card, something with the no conversion changes. So it essentially charges you in Norwegian NOK or whatever country you're going to be in, and that's really good. So make sure you do that at home, so you don't have any like silly authentication problems, or you haven't got an English phone number while you're in Norway, because that's another bugbear. And we also downloaded the MER app, MER app, and luckily that's the only one that worked at home. The rest were a bit of a pain in the bum, but that one worked. And yet again, I associated the Halifax Clarity card again with that app, which doesn't give us any charges. So those two, luckily have helped out a lot.
Yes, definitely. And we're talking, because we live in the UK, so we're obviously referencing credit cards that we have access to in the UK, but I assume in obviously any country you're watching this from, it's just whatever credit card you can get that just doesn't charge you the really high transaction fees and conversion fees and things. So so we were all good in that sense. We had the two apps. Now the first, if we talk about the actual charging sessions themselves, the first one we did, leaving the airport, we had a bit of a drive. I think we had about a 3-hour drive to our first stop. So we did have to stop at a Tesla supercharger. and that went really well.
Yeah, surprisingly,
Really
yeah.
well. We pulled up, it all synced up. You put the charger in the car, and then it just does a quick thing on your phone to say it's just initializing.
And you need to choose the number of the actual Tesla pod as such.
Yep, so you select which number you're at, make sure you definitely double check you're putting in the right one. And then it started charging, and it shows you on your phone what percentage you're at, and then you can just monitor that. So we thought, okay, we'll just go and get a drink. So we went and got a drink in a cafe, and we were actually a little bit rushed because we were waiting for it to get to 80%, and I think we were at something like 20%.
And 80 is a key number.
Yes, 80 is what everyone advises, to always keep it to that level. Don't generally charge beyond
Overcharge.
80%, because you can you start actually incurring higher fees if you go over 80%, which is strange for us. We didn't realise that, and it actually starts to slow down a bit. So in terms of time and cost, we just kept it to 80%. And so yeah, we were a little bit rushed. We're like, okay, we've enjoyed our drink, now let's get back, because it was getting to 80% in a reasonable time, and that took about 20 minutes. So all going well. First off, we thought, this is great, we're going to have a good time with this.
This is going to work.
This is going to work. And then we got to the next day, and we were travelling, we had to do the same, we had to just charge up again. And then that's when we started to notice, okay, it's not quite as straightforward as we first thought. So we went to another Tesla supercharger, and this time it took a long time. It was about 50 minutes.
So let's just rewind a sec. So the first time we used that Tesla, we went for the coffee, the first time we used it, we were pulling around about 68 kilowatts, I think it is, and that's not too bad, but considering they are 150, 250 superchargers, you got to be mindful of the car you get as well, because this car is a middle to top of the range car. This is a Lexus 450 or something. Never seen one. Big, comfortable car, and it's obviously I think it's like a big Toyota thing, isn't it, Lexus? So we were only pulling around about 65, 68 kilowatts, which is reasonable, but you're not going to get anywhere near the 150 which this is mooted to have. So if you get 150 kilowatts, it's going to take probably 20 minutes. If you're pulling sort of like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, it could take you hours, and invariably it has done. So yeah, just want to throw that in.
Yeah, and so this time, as we said, about 50 minutes, and that started eating into quite precious time, because we had a big journey to do that day.
Road trip.
We hadn't factored in that we'd have to spend that amount of time, and it's a bit boring because you're in a charging station. Sometimes they're just attached to a petrol station.
Yeah, some are better than others.
Some are better than others, and sometimes there's nowhere to go, so you're literally stuck in your car, really.
And you're worried about putting anything on.
Yes.
Because it is cold in Norway, obviously when we're here now, but you're worried about putting anything on, because you're thinking you just want to get you charged to carry on, and then you see people putting in diesel within 30 seconds and disappearing. You're thinking something's wrong here.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was probably more of a issue for us because we're on a road trip, so every day is precious in terms of being able to have time to enjoy what we're trying to see, and not factoring that time in was, it's a bit of a shock. And there was one day, because we were on such a long day, we had to do that twice. So that was like 2 sessions of 50 minutes.
Yeah, nearly 2 hours
of charging that we just hadn't factored in. So what we got to a point is that you have to just really start pre-planning your days to a greater extent than you're used to. So we thought, okay, let's start timing in a charge to have some lunch and then charge the car. So that would help at least maybe one session where you don't feel like you're wasting as much time. So yeah, we were just a bit surprised by that. A couple of the other things, so we used MER as well. Those stations were okay, and Tesla generally worked okay first time. There was a couple of times when it might not initially work, so you think that maybe something's going wrong with the payment, or
some of the pods may be out of order.
Yes. Yeah, so all we did in that stage is we just moved to another one and it started working. There are quite a lot of hotels and other places where you can plug it in overnight. We didn't do that because the other thing that you tend to find is that there's so many different companies,
Too many apps.
so many apps, and you've got to sign up for an account on each single one quite often. So where we had set up our accounts prior to coming to Norway, Tesla and MER, that was fine. But
Trying
again,
to do Circle K.
yeah, we had trouble with Circle K, and then there were a few others. So because there are all so many different companies, if you're trying to log in and register and set up an account, and then quite often, yeah, it doesn't recognise your phone number.
You need a Norwegian phone number essentially.
Yes.
And
yeah.
even if you've got like data SIM, we've got eSIMs. So even if you've got data eSIMs, it doesn't matter because it's not a real phone number. It's just for data.
Yes.
So you can't make phone calls on it. So it can't send you an OTP code, which is what the apps want to send you to authenticate your phone number. So none of that works.
No. And so that's the main thing we would definitely advise is before you go anywhere, try and download as many of the main apps as you can.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you hopefully will stand a better chance. I believe that they are trying to do more stations now where you just can tap your credit card and go.
So in the last, as you just said, touched on earlier on, in the last 8 months, I think Norwegian government have told anyone throwing in new charging stations has to have a credit card tap. So essentially authentication, just like going to the shop. That's what it should be. We've not come across one yet, I don't think. But I think all the new ones are going in, and I think retrospectively they are changing the others. So if you come here in a year, maybe it might be all good. But if you're coming in the next 6 months, who knows? But I think it's going to take a lot of time to transition all that technology back.
Yeah, definitely. And then what was the other thing we were going to talk about? I'm trying to think of. Oh, so I guess in terms of our experience, a pro of coming at this time of year is we haven't had any issues
No tourists
turning up to charging stations. We've been able to like hook in immediately, which has been a real pro for us. What I'm not sure about is what would happen if you start getting if you're getting into like the peak tourist time. It's just something else to consider, that if you know that you've potentially got to wait quite a while to charge the car, then if you factor in extra time waiting for somebody else to make a charger free, then it could start racking up quite quick.
And quite often, if you go to a Tesla one, there's invariably 10, 12 there. Sometimes it's more. And very rarely we've seen them busy. We've seen one which has been maxed out maybe once, but that's like a place where it had taxis and everything else. But I think with the Tesla stuff as well, it tells you when it's a good time to go. So there's a little a bar graph on there which tells you when it's busy and when it's not. But the MER one, the MER one, which is a blue coloured icon for the app, that one, sometimes if you don't pick wisely where you're going to be going, so if there's no Tesla ones around, for example, and you can't get Circle K working, if MER is your only hope and you're getting range anxiety like we've been getting, which is just not fun on a road trip holiday, you can actually pull up to a garage somewhere, almost in the middle of nowhere, and you think, right, okay, there's a MER on there, charger. There might only be 2, and they're only 50 kilowatts max, and you're never going to pull 50 kilowatts for some reason. Don't know why, no idea why, but only 50 kilowatts. And I think it might be down to certain cars you've got. But anyway, so we went to one the other day and we started charging up. Then the next one started charging up, and there's only 2 in the middle of nowhere. And then if a couple of people have been turned up behind us, they could have been waiting hours. And in the summertime, you would be absolutely stuffed, I reckon. You'd be stuffed waiting for maybe, if there's 2 or 3 people in front of you, you could wait 3 hours and you've got no juice to get anywhere else. So that's something to be mindful of looking forward, planning your journey, as Sarah said earlier on, but making sure there's more than maybe 2. Because you could be absolutely stuffed and you wouldn't be getting to your destination in a hurry, I'll tell you that. We've nearly come across that a couple of times, and it's not even high season.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think in terms of summing up our experience of electric car, we would definitely think twice. If we were doing another road trip, we would potentially, depending on what road trip we were doing, if we were doing the same sort of distances that we've done on this one, I don't think we'd get an electric car.
Because we just to throw it in there, we've done about 2,000 kilometres, which is quite a lot.
Yes.
And we've still got probably another 500 to do. And I'm on 139 kilometers now, left range with 37% battery.
Yes.
So what we're doing is planning in our journey now to maybe almost go down to almost zero. And it's only because we're starting to get used to it, we feel comfortable that we're not going to run out of juice.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And as Lee said, we don't know whether it's dependent upon this car.
Yeah.
So if we did use an electric car again, we would research a bit more into the hire companies and which ones have Teslas, because I do think that Teslas are quicker, and it's just probably easier all round.
Well, we used to own a Tesla.
Yes.
We had a Model Y, and it was just
easy.
Easy.
And I don't know quite how we would rectify this necessarily, because you don't always know what apps are used, but ideally charging it overnight if you're at a hotel is great, but it's just very hard to predict that you're going to come across the same company. So we kept putting up, we're like, oh, that's a different company again. We haven't got an account with them.
I reckon we've counted maybe every hotel seems to have a different charger, and some of them are only 4.6 kilowatts.
Yes.
So at home they're usually 7 at home, but 4.6 kilowatts, God, you're going to have to stick it on charge for 11 hours plus.
Yeah,
maybe
at least
longer.
That would get you at least some charge. Another tip is, depending on how much time you've got before you go on a road trip, is you could contact the hotels you're staying at and see what company they use for their chargers, and then make sure you've got the app downloaded, and then you can use that overnight.
Because sometimes when you book your hotel, it does actually say car charging point, but it doesn't tell you, as Sarah was saying, it doesn't tell you what version and what company and what app you need, and you're just going to keep joining all these. It becomes pretty ridiculous, to be honest. There needs to be just maybe 2 or 5 in the whole country, or one even.
And the other thing I think
dropping it off as well, or you need to drop it off with a certain amount of battery.
Yes, so we've been told we've got to drop the car back off in Oslo with 70% battery. So that's okay. We have enough time on the day that we're heading home to be able to do that. But again, something just to factor in, because if you're flying early the next day or whatever it might be, you can't just nip into the petrol station and fill up in 10 seconds or however long it is.
No chance.
So yeah, we're having to pre-plan that in as well to make sure we can get charged. I mean, if you take it back with less than that, the rental car company would just say that you probably just have to give them a certain amount of money.
Well, it's 30 quid.
Was it £30?
Yeah,
30 British pounds. So that is an option if you're a bit tough on time. So yeah, in terms of electric car pros, it's been comfortable, this car.
Great car.
It's the latest and greatest. I mean, they're really investing in electric cars over here, so you're going to get, most likely you're going to probably get a top range, good model car, very comfortable. We've not felt uncomfortable in this, and we've done some long drives. The cons though still is just time. If you're doing a long
anxiety.
If you're doing long distances, it's the time, it's the range anxiety, and just not knowing if you're going to make it or if it's going to work. Or
one tip is to and when you're charging this particular vehicle, I don't know what others do it, but it actually says that you get almost 40 to 50 kilometers more if you turn the air conditioning off. Not the air conditioning, just the fan stuff.
Yeah, like all of what that uses.
But it's been really cold, so we've had to use it. So it's summertime, probably wouldn't use it unless aircon.
Yeah,
same thing.
Aircon, that would drain it.
Drain it.
Or just come into a tunnel.
Tunnel.
So yeah, and another I guess pro, if an electric car is probably cool if you're doing shorter distances and you can just fill up and charge the car in shorter bursts than what we've had to do.
We're just going from A to B and then C and then maybe back. But we've done like 11 days. We've been moving virtually every day. So, and their distances they're not small. They are, like today we're doing we've got 286 kilometres left.
Yeah.
I've got 131 kilometres. I know it's the same as having gas and diesel and everything else, but this definitely runs out a lot quicker. And the range, I mean, if you had a diesel car, I'm sure you can get maybe 500 miles from a decent diesel car. Because when we come last in 2018, we had that Mercedes diesel A-class, 220 diesel. Oh, I think we're getting 450 out of that thing. 450 miles, but on this you can get maybe 280, 300 kilometers. So that's a huge difference for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing I was going to say about a pro of the electric car is cost. So in the charges that we've been spending, if we've been doing say 20% to 80% charge in British pounds, it's averaging out around what, £15, £17
it's not
to do
loads,
that.
not loads. But if you're doing that twice a day because of the range issue, it all starts adding up, and we will add up, and we'll put it probably at the bottom of this because this will be obviously a video for YouTube. At the bottom of this, we'll actually put on how much we spent in 11 days for how many miles, and I'm not too sure if it's any more economical.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to work out. It's probably going to be slightly more economical to have the electric car, but what we've been trying to weigh up is it's just that saving a bit of money, but the time element.
You can't get time back.
That's why if we were doing these distances again, we would trade having a non-electric car because we get some time back. And nothing to do with electric cars at this point, but it's just something to add in if you are doing a road trip. Quite often, and we double checked, so with budget rent a car we have auto pass, which is what they use in Norway. So that is your tolls for the roads. There's quite a lot of roads that you do have tolls.
And the good thing is, having an electric car, you pay a fraction of the cost of a diesel car, so you might pull back money that way. Definitely.
And the ferries as well. There were some ferries that we went on where it just automatically is triggered by your auto pass,
number plate auto pass,
and then you just get an invoice at the end from the hire company saying what you owe for the tolls.
And there were electric ferries as well, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, there was electric ferries. Yeah, that was cool. They were so quiet, weren't they? Yeah, travelling on those. Yes. So that wraps it up for there. Hopefully that just gives you some
pointers.
Yeah, good pointers. Just a summary of how we find the experience of an electric car.
All the things that we wish we knew before we did it. I think we might, when we come back again, maybe in a few years, might have progressed a bit more.
Yes, if it takes
I'd still go for a Tesla.
Yeah. Okay, we will leave it there. Happy travelling.
And hopefully this really helps you guys. If you've got any comments and so on, just let us know. But I'm sure that'll help you out, because some of this stuff just isn't written down anywhere.
No.
And even the hire company, the budget guys who are budget and Avis, I think they might be the same. They share the same desk anyway. I know they've got a QR code and you can scan it and it tells you how to do things, but it doesn't really tell you how to do things.
No, I think until you actually start doing it, you don't quite.
It's like anything. It's like you can read the premise of riding a bike, but you don't know how to ride a bike. It's very it's been fun. It's been out of our comfort zone, to be honest, and we mucked on through. And good luck to anyone who wants to do it.
Excellent, cool. Yes, leave it there.
Have a good day.
Bye.